So you have to keep track of like, what's my long-term goal? My long-term goal isn't to take that machine gun nest, it's to win the war.
Former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink believes that when a team comes together and truly takes ownership of problems that arise, that group embracing the ownership of the problem and not pushing it away for someone else to deal with will lead the team to ultimately solving that problem. He wants people to take extreme ownership, not make excuses, and don't let your pride get in the way. When we take ownership of the good and the bad in our own life, we can find solutions that lead to real fixes. We need to know what our long-term goals are and keep track of them, but assess what your short-term goals are versus those long-term goals. You must constantly adjust to make sure you don't sacrifice your long-term goal for your short-term goal wins.
Just like being a SEAL, doing missions is only part of what you need to do the mission.
You must stay humble and be willing to listen. Never stop the process of learning. Individuals and businesses alike must put their own pride aside to be ready to learn new ways to be successful and achieve their business goals. We must always be ready to adjust and improve. We must also be ready to treat those around us with respect and stay humble. Remember, you are never the best. There is always someone that is better than you. You should never stop training to be better at what you do and always set your mind to be more successful. And we must always remember we don't have control over everything. Staying humble and remembering that you're not the best and that there is someone better than you allows us to make those necessary adjustments to learn new things and ultimately be more successful.
And that discipline that you have at that moment, you win that fight. That's a big victory.
Unlike a team where no one takes ownership of the problems and therefore the problems never get solved, with us, everyone took ownership of their mistakes. Everyone took ownership of the problems. And when a team takes ownership of its problems, the problems get solved. And that is true on the battlefield, it is true in business, and it is true in life. So I say, take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes, take ownership of your shortfalls, take ownership of your problems, and then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved.
If I'm in charge, or if I'm in charge of a squad, and it's like, hey, we're gonna go assault that bunker on the top of the hill. Okay, there's a bunker on top of the hill with a machine gun in it. My squad, we're gonna go assault it. If we charge uphill to an elevated position, I know there's a lot of vets in here, what's gonna happen? Okay, yeah, 2 or 3 of us get killed, like that. You know what? We never quit. Go again. 2 or 3 more guys died. Go again. Everyone's dead. Did I never quit? I never quit. Did I fail my mission? Yes, I did. So you have to keep track of like, what's my long-term goal? My long-term goal isn't to take that machine gun nest, it's to win the war. So if you're doing something on a daily basis and you start feeling casualties, you need to assess yourself and say, you know, you can have a business idea. And I've talked to a bunch of people like this. They got that business idea and their mindset's, I'm never gonna quit. Well, then they're running out of money, not just money for their business, money for their family. And it's like, okay, hey, if you've got it, what adjustments can you make strategically? Because the pattern that you're going right now, if you keep charging up that hill with that business the way you are, everyone dies. If you say, you know what, time for a tactical retreat, time for me to step back, time for me to call up some firepower to come and help drop some bombs on this target or get some fire support, whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind as well.
You better be humble when you show up at the SEAL teams, because you don't know anything. And if you think you know something, you find out really quickly that you don't. And so it's actually easy, because if you're humble and you have an open mind and you're willing to listen, the guys are willing to teach you. And it's fundamental things that you can learn pretty quickly. But anybody that comes in that's arrogant, that thinks they know everything, they're gonna have problems. And again, that's the same thing you see in the business world. When we work with companies where the company that is actually asking us to come in and, you know, maybe the CEO is saying, hey, we want you to come and help us. That company, they're already doing well. They're already being successful. And their attitude is, hey, we need help. We want to get better. We want to be more successful. And those companies, they ramp up really quickly and we have a great time working with them. Sometimes we work with companies where, let's say we get brought in by the board, brings us in because the company's not doing well. Well, right off the bat, the company's not doing well and they don't think they need any help. And so it's the opposite effect. They're saying, well, we don't need any help. We don't need you guys here. And the fact of the matter is they need us more than the other folks do. But the reason that they need help is the reason we're there in the first place. It's the reason they're not doing well, because they're not looking at themselves every day humbly and saying, what can we do better? How can we improve? improve? How can we adjust right now and turn our game around or improve our game so that we can get better in the market?
0 people in the world are not getting tapped out. Everyone is getting tapped out. And so everyone, when you learn, you eventually realize, hey, it's about who's training, who's been training longer, and it doesn't make me a better person. It just means that I caught that individual at that moment in time. So it definitely teaches you about humility. It's the same thing that combat teaches you. Combat teaches you humility. And when you go overseas, and especially for me from a leadership perspective, as good as you think you are, there's gonna be things that you can't control. And there's gonna be things that happen, and the control of the situation is gonna slip out of your fingers. And that is a very humbling thing to go through, especially if you've got guys that get wounded, you've got guys that get killed, and it doesn't matter how hard you worked and what you did and the effort you put in, you don't have control over everything. And that is the most humbling part about going into combat, is that you're not as good as you think you are. And I was just coming out of buds. I thought I was a tough guy, and here this guy, he just easily choked me, arm locked me. I couldn't do anything to him.